I almost bought an Austin.
Hello and welcome to the Southbound Sports Show. Rick, what were you saying? You almost bought
Never
what?
mind. Go ahead.
No, you were saying something about Austin Meadows.
I almost bought an Austin Meadows jersey, so I'm so happy I didn't right now.
I should have just let that roll before I did the intro, so that would be like a soft start to the show, where you're telling us what kind of autograph stuff you've been buying. I've already called you out because I was listening to the Hardball podcast before we get started in the show, and he said that he once pissed his pants because he didn't want to get out of line waiting for an autograph. And I was disappointed that never happened to you, Rick. I thought he showed better dedication to the craft.
You know what? I know how to use the restroom and use it correctly. That's why you use it before you get into the line. So it's called bathroom etiquette and politeness and courtesy. It's common courtesy to the people around you. Trust me, I don't want to be standing next to a guy in the line who just peed his pants.
Not only did he get the autograph, he also took a picture with the player.
With his pee pants on.
Where he said you could see the pants were wet until they scanned it to the computer. The scanning removed it. Or he said it was too dark or something where you couldn't tell. He said, but on the original, his dad said that they could definitely tell 100%. So, crazy. Let's go ahead and hit the high tempo. Rick, you want to kick it off today?
Yeah, the one thing I saw today, I know we complained about this about a month ago, and we were talking about it as well, is the common family going to a game and how much it costs and how ridiculous it is for a family to go to a game and how much it costs. Rich, I'll send this to you so you can put it up on the Facebook and also Twitter. But I'm going to show it right now. Atlanta Hawks, who are almost an NBA team, as many of you know. Fan-friendly concessions. Now, they're the first team in NBA history to do this, actually cut cost on their concessions. So in this graphic here, which I'll send to you, Rich, chips are now $1. At $2 is candy, jumbo pretzels, and bottled water. $3, fries, hot dogs, nachos, and a bottled soda. $4, pizza slice, bottomless popcorn, and bottomless soda. And $5 for a beer, but you have to use an app to get it, I guess, to make sure everybody's 21 or older. So, I mean, it's nice that somebody actually gives a crap about the fans. Holy crap, you know. Wow, giving a crap about the fans and the fans showing up. Two new concepts, I think, they're now hitting sports right there. But I was proud the Atlanta Hawks, the NBA team, which most of us forget about, because ESPN only puts 5 teams on, you know, during their telecast, so you may not see that Hawks team play. But it's actually nice to see that. So kudos to the Atlanta Hawks for caring about their fans.
Well, I want to say,
getting people in the seats.
I want to say, I'm going to piggyback off this. I think we talked about this. I'm looking it up right now. I think that's an Atlanta thing. I think the Falcons started it when they opened Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So last year, 2017, they had similar prices. It was $2 for a hot dog, $3 for a pizza slice, like $2 for a soda. It was basically the same idea, fan-friendly. And I think I saw some final numbers. I don't know if we ever revisited the topic, but I think they made more money in concessions than what they had in previous years using that pricing scheme. So if it was that successful to them, I'm not surprised that the Hawks jumped right on it. And to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if the Braves and other teams around the areas, even coming into Carolina here, if the Panthers and some other teams started to do the same thing. Because at cheaper prices, you're able to move more product. If they don't sell, like let's say they have 1,000 hot dogs, but because the prices are so outrageous, they only sell 50 to 100, you're burning all those other hot dogs. What are you going to do with them? So you might as well sell what you have. Who cares? You're going to make the same profit if you sell 50 at a higher cost than if you sell all 1,000 at $2 a piece. So good for them. I'm glad they got the numbers, and I'm hoping that other teams see it. You don't have to gouge your fans to get those people in the seats because, well, I'm going to mention it when we get to the Steel City update, but it's what's hurting the Pirates right now. So I don't want to harp on that yet. We're going to circle around to that. So, Matt, what do you got for high tempo this week?
We were going around the circuit the last couple weeks with the different media days. One of the things that stood out to me was that Stanford's Bryce Love absent from the media days. And going into this season, he's a potential Heisman hopeful. And it was reported through CBS Sports that his chances of getting the Heisman are suddenly damaged because he didn't show up for Pac-12 media days. And the reason he wasn't there is because he's attending summer classes at Stanford working towards his doctorate instead of skipping class to go to the media day. So I kind of think it's shame on them for trying to shame him for going through the dog and pony show. And I thought kudos to him for stepping up and being willing to stay the school route and do whatever classes or work he needed to get done, as opposed to dealing with the hype and the circus this early in the season.
And I was going to bring it up. I'll save it for later for our college football talk before the end of the show. I had some additional things to do about the media days, but you're 100% right, Matt. It's all a dog and pony show. The media wants to help whoever helps them, and that's the bottom line. And that's why you have the fake news stuff really taking off. Facebook losing a ton of money over not showing ads or whatever they were going through. It's hard to trust anyone. And then you see things like this. Why would that affect his Heisman standing? Because a couple guys with inflated egos that could never even throw a baseball didn't get to talk to him and write their article for their crappy newspaper that's a dying medium? I mean, come on, give me a break. It's either sports or it's not. Then make it a meaningless award. Because, yeah, just because he didn't go to summer days, how many other guys didn't get to summer days? Because one of the things that I saw, people were saying, I've seen a couple negative comments on Harbaugh. He didn't bring Rashawn Gary, who's considered one of the top players in the country, possibly one of the top 5 NFL draft picks in the coming year, because he only takes seniors to the thing, and they were kind of chastising it. And he had to come out. He has to come out and say that it's a reward for guys that have stuck with the program for 4 years to be here. The media doesn't get the pick. And it just kind of rubs me the wrong way. Because why are you trying to take guys that were seniors that Harbaugh thought deserved to be there and try to throw another guy in? Worst case scenario, like, that's going to disrupt the locker room. I would hope the players aren't that petty. But it just goes too far. Like, who cares who's there and who's not? It's just a thing to get more clicks on an online newspaper or whatever. People aren't reading the regular paper.
I thought about it this way, too. If it were an SEC school, if it were a kid from Alabama or a kid from Georgia, the university would probably front the money or have a booster provide a private jet to fly them to wherever they need to be. So I think I give the kudos to the Pac-12 and to Stanford University for not caving to that, and not saying, well, we better make sure that you're there to show face and try to, for Stanford, not trying to make money off of him, because he's a good running back. He's a great player. He could be someone that they could have potentially flown.
Oh, they definitely could have flown him in. You're breaking up a bit there. And it's kind of like the Christian
so
McCaffrey
wherever they
thing.
were having their media day.
He broke up again.
Yeah, but that's my point too. Is, I mean, who really watches these? And it's more the national media. It's not going to be your media that is in Ann Arbor, or State College.
Well, the people that aren't there, Rick, it's the West Coast bias thing, like the Christian McCaffrey thing I just mentioned. The people said he didn't get the votes because no one really watched him, but that's kind of bullshit. Because everyone
they allowed
knew
him
his
to
name.
make that choice, allowed him to, with trying to graduate in December.
So, Matt, your Skype's all messed up.
I want to focus on getting these classes and my work done.
I don't know if you're on. I got the image from Rick for the thing. So I'm going to go ahead and jump to mine before we get into the mailbag. I wanted to bring up, I know we talked about soccer before, but the NC Courage is a women's soccer team down here in North Carolina, and they won the first International Cup, which is kind of like the World Cup for single teams. So I wanted to give a shout out to them, because a lot of people say the United States isn't good at soccer, but they are, just women's soccer. And that's why it's baffling to me that they can't put together a men's team to even qualify, but the women's team makes the finals every World Cup and every Olympic. So shout out to them. It's a brand new team too. I think I don't know if they rebranded, but it was part of the Raleigh area's push to get an MLS team, which I think hasn't happened yet. I know for sure. And I think they're still in the running for the next round, but I don't know. But it's definitely good for them to try to get a big stadium down here for soccer because I think there's an appetite for it. Jumping into the mailbag. This one, I brought it in just because it annoyed me. People asking if the Steelers should sign Des Bryant. What do you guys think?
No. You already got too many other clubhouse cancers. Do you really need another one?
My question is, why would you want him?
He's a good player. I'll give him credit. He could play. But, I mean, do you really want another clubhouse cancer? If you can't survive on the Cowboys, well, what says you could survive on the Steelers, Patriots, Eagles, other teams that are more your high echelon teams? I mean, it's a whole culture difference and everything. Do you need that guy? No. And I'll say this: why are you even bringing it up? We got receivers.
Well, I think
go to a team that needs a receiver. Miami's doesn't have as many weapons as they used to.
The stat that they were sending us was Des Bryant was second in touchdowns. I think Brown was first, and I didn't double check the stats, so who knows if that's even right. That they would have the top 2 scoring receivers in the league, but at this point, I don't even know what you would do. Is Ben going to make him that much better of a player? And do they really need him? Because I'm still high on Juju Smith-Schuster and his upside. So why bring in Dez? He's going to command more salary cap for basically no reason. We're already going through that with Le'Veon Bell. We just don't need another guy. Matt, are you caught up? You were breaking up there for a bit. You have any thoughts on Bryant?
Yeah, I'm back now. I saw that and actually short of the 5 miss. But I think when you look, Des commands a 1 or a 2, and Pittsburgh has a 1 and a 2 with Brown and Juju. I think to bring Des on board, he hasn't proven himself as a good clubhouse guy. He's not a good character person to bring in. There's a reason Dallas cut him. I can see there's a reason that the majority of the teams in the NFL have taken a pass. There has to be something there that he wasn't flying right off the radar the first week of free agency. So I just think that Pittsburgh's too smart and they won't sign him, and it'll be a good thing.
Well, did you see his tweets? He immediately went after like Sean Lee or someone, saying that that's the reason he got cut. Like a linebacker is making your decision. Is the most outrageous thing I've seen. Called him a backstabber, I think. Something like that for no reason, because they said that he demands the ball or something like that in the locker room. But it doesn't make any sense. Why bring him on? But it was the most compelling thing that we got before the trade deadline hit. So I figured I'd bring it in. I'm gonna now curve. Go ahead.
Here's the reason that you need to know. Here's all you need to know. A. Beats said, bring him on board. One of the premier prima donnas of the team, and one of the reasons that we have so many issues is advocating for him. That's all the more reason to let him go. We don't need that head case.
That's true. We already have enough of that. Too much drama. Moving on to the, Steel City update. Penguins, we'll start with them. Not too much going on. Let's see. They made some minor moves. Signed backup Tristan Jarry, a goalie, to a 2-year deal. And they also signed Derek Grant, a forward, to a 1-year contract. I'm not sure if either of those moves are going to make a big impact. The Derek Grant one's going to be the one to watch because I don't know. Is he going to make an impact in 1 year? I would have liked a bigger splash there, but he only signed for $650,000. So not too big there. Rick, you have anything on the Penguins this week?
They've really been the Penguins have really been calm right now. But if you are a Penguins fan, I believe the individual game tickets go on sale on Thursday, if I remember correctly. And I think the promotional schedule gets released. It's getting released this week too. So, if it hasn't already, but that's about it.
I did have one other thing. It's not related really to the Penguins, but Quinn Hughes, the Vancouver Canucks, I think he was 7th overall pick, is coming back to Michigan now. So he's not going to go to the NHL. There was some speculation on him, but since I'm a Michigan guy, I saw that come across. That was the other big news that I saw in the hockey world. Because you would think that if you had a top 10 pick, you'd hope that guy would be in the system, making an impact early. But I think his brother's actually going to come in and play at Michigan. He has like 2 or 3 brothers. So that's another thing to watch. Not really related to the Penguins, though. For the Steelers, was it preseason games are starting soon? This weekend?
Thursday, yeah.
Thursday, so we'll finally get some live football action to talk about. Since I mentioned it earlier, the Harbaugh podcast, Tomlin was on, which was surprising as hell because I didn't realize that he, number one, would even chat with Harbaugh. But number two, he said that they've been going together for like these coaching clinics. So apparently, I guess they hang out, trade secrets, and they told some funny stories about hanging out. So if you want to hear a lighthearted take on Mike Tomlin, because he's kind of straightforward with the media, he never really lets his guard down like that, what I heard today. So definitely something if you want to hear the lighter side of him. He talks about building and motivating the guys more so than strategy. So it's not so much strategy football talk, but more locker room type stuff. And he also made a point that a game that he coached against Harbaugh when he was with the 49ers, that the power went out much like the Super Bowl. So he wondered why the power would always go out for Harbaugh's games and if that was part of his strategy. So, funny bit there. And that's pretty much all I have for the Steelers. We're going to wait and see. Let's see what the quarterback situation shakes out to be this weekend, because that's the one thing I'm keeping my eye on. Will Mason Rudolph get anything beyond garbage time? And who's going to get those second snaps? Is it going to be Landry Jones? Oh, God. I know it's going to be him, most likely. So, we'll see. We did have a super fan last year come at us hard for how many weeks? 2-3 weeks? I think basically the whole entire preseason. So, hopefully we don't have him coming at us. You guys have anything else for the Steelers before we get on to the big topic this week?
I think we hit the big thing with Dez potentially wanting to play. Still no sign from Le'Veon, although I think that Tomlin kind of threw a little jab at him, saying hopefully he comes back soon and hopefully he's in better shape than he was last year. So hopefully that got through to him to be ready to go and be ready to work.
Well, I think we talked about, I don't think we talked about this on the show, but offensive lineman Taylor Lewan for the Nashville, what the hell's their team?
Tennessee
Titans. Oh my God.
Tennessee.
I'm thinking Predators, man. Play them in one Stanley Cup Finals, and that's where your mind goes. Titans have been irrelevant since when? Eddie George and Steve McNair? Yeah. Don't tell me Marcus Mariota either. But he took the opposite approach of Le'Veon Bell, and I figured, well, why not have a discussion on the show about it? Because he went to training camp, and he didn't have a contract even signed. I think he was there for, 2 days? I told you guys. So he went for 2 days without a contract. And he said, hey, I'm confident we're going to work something out. And he signed the largest deal ever for an offensive tackle, or even an offensive lineman, I'm not sure. $50 million guaranteed. So if you're looking at one hand with Le'Veon Bell, who's out trying to make raps, trying to sell raps instead of reporting and being a good teammate. I mean, hey, you can show up without having a contract. Maybe you're just there. I mean, if you don't have a contract, why not hang out with the team? Show them that you have their support. But I guess everyone handles things differently. But you can't say on one hand, well, he's doing it to get his money. because you have point proven that Taylor Lewan didn't have a contract. He went to camp, and he got his money. And I think it just shows you're there, you're getting the dedication, you're showing that you want to be there, and you're willing to work for it. Hey, I'm here working. I'm going to get my contract. I'm going to get my money. That's totally different than not being there at all. For how many years in a row now? 3 years he's pulling this bullshit, and he thinks he's going to get a max contract on the open market. I don't think there's any way that gets done, but wait and see. You guys have anything else to throw in there?
Just to piggyback off of one thing we talked about last week with my boy Julio, he was able to get his contract restructured. It was like pretty much right after our show was done, they announced that he restructured his contract. He signed, he's reported, he's there. Good sign for Julio fantasy owners.
Basically, are you keeping him this year? I know we need to do a fantasy show. I was talking to a fantasy expert trying to get him to possibly come on the show. So I'll message him, try to get that set up before the season starts with some tips on what to do instead of just having us give our tips. I gave a lot of mine last year. And I think if you search on iTunes, you can go back and download those episodes. I think we titled them Fantasy Whatever. We broke it down by position. But maybe we'll recycle those and throw them up as we get closer here to the start of the season. Rick?
And I got 2 points. Ramon Foster's missing the whole preseason. That's okay. There are other people who take the preseason off too. Lewan got 5 years, 80. Jake Matthews signed like within hours after that. It was like he got 5 for 75. So, I mean, offensive linemen are getting paid tons and tons of money. Well, I guess you could do that in Tennessee because who else are they paying? They're pretty bad. Hey, don't watch them this year.
Dude, Taylor Lewan, he was the guy drinking the catfish beer at the Predators game.
Yes, he was. Which
I know, Matt, because
great.
He's a Michigan man, and I always keep tabs on what our guys are up to. And getting paid is one of those things.
Oh, I guess not cheering for Stanley Cup champions.
And also, I guess that they're not eating chicken either now at Michigan. Did you see that ridiculous thing?
That was going to be part of our college football talk, Matt.
Yes.
And why is that ridiculous? He makes some excellent argument points there.
If you take him out of Michigan and just put him in a bathrobe, you immediately send him for a psych evaluation because he's out of his mind.
Matt, are you denying that a chicken is a nervous bird?
I do not know, nor do I care.
It's definitely a nervous bird. We're going to come back to that. Let's go back to that because I have that as part of my college football talk because there are some other things that piss me off for the media days. Let's get into Pittsburgh Pirates. Basically, movers are going to just move this to the trade deadline for those watching the video. Pittsburgh Pirates today getting some moves done. Getting Chris Archer, starting pitcher. Some argue an ace. I would argue kind of against that. Maybe 3 years ago. I don't think he has the numbers right now. They were leaking stuff, saying they were going to get him. And who else did they get? The closer from the Rangers. How do you pronounce his name, Rick?
I'm going to slaughter it.
Well, I knew I was going to butcher it.
It's Keono. Or Keona? Keona?
Call him K. Hopefully for strikeouts.
KK.
They go ahead. They get the bullpen. They got that one solved, it was like 1 a.m. last night? So they get the bullpen, and that was the biggest beef everyone had, even though we've talked about the stats before, where the Pirates, if they had a lead after 7, they had a ridiculous winning percentage, and even higher after 8. So the bullpen was getting the job done. If they had the lead, they weren't getting the runs. I think their run differential was 0 a couple of games ago. I'm not sure what it is now. But you're sitting above 500, and you have a 0 run differential. That's crazy. That means your games, you should be right at that 500 line. You're not scoring more runs than what you're giving up. And they need to score runs. But they went the pitcher route, and I talked to Rick before we started. The thing that really worries me is what the GM, Neil Huntington, said. He kind of allured that if the team doesn't make the playoffs, they could be looking to sell. That's kind of what he was hinting at. because he brought up, I think the year was 2011 and 2012. 2011, I think, was the first year where they lost to the Braves in that long game on a controversial home plate call. And they went on a losing streak after doing some trade deadline deals trying to add players. And he said, look, we added players in 2011, we added players in 2012, and we didn't make the playoffs. In 2014 or 13, the year they made the playoffs, he said we didn't add anybody, and our chemistry worked, and we made the playoffs. Now this year, obviously the attendance is way down, so they had to make a move because they were already hurting, going back to the concession stand, doing a callback here. If no one's at the game, I don't care what the prices are, you're not making money at the concession stand. People aren't going to go watch the Pirates play with a bunch of nobodies in the grand scheme of things to buy a $2 hot dog. Not going to happen. So he's saying that we've tried it both ways, and the fans aren't happy. It's kind of what I was getting. He was kind of like a sly little bitchy thing that he was throwing out there. And I didn't like it. It rubbed me the wrong way. Because your job is to make the team be successful. And what he's telling me right now is he's more concerned with what the fans are thinking. Who's not in the seats? Oh, I'm going to throw some little digs out here at the fans. Because look, fans, I made the moves before and we didn't make the playoffs. When I didn't make moves, we did make the playoffs. So here I am. I'm going to make a couple moves for you. And then when this backfires, then I'm going to sell the team. That's the vibes I got from him. And I will say, the trade deadline, I should have been excited that the Pirates were adding, but it kind of just pissed me off. So, Rick, I'd like to get your thoughts on that.
And my thoughts are kind of a little bit scattered because I'm reading some different Pittsburgh writers. I'm reading national things. So the question was coming up into this week was, are the Pirates going all in or going all out or just going to stay the same? Now, we've traded for now, however he pronounces his name. Plus, we've also traded, we've traded now for Chris Archer. So we believe they're pitching. The thing was in the minor leagues, if you look through the Pirates organization, pitching isn't there. You have some pitchers, but you don't have a lot of pitchers. Yes, you have Mitch Keller. Yes, you have Luis Escobar. But, I mean, there's some – those are your top-tier guys. You don't have a lot of top-tier guys. So that's a problem. So they must feel that they need Archer because they don't have enough guys who could fill in the starting rotation, which Escobar, who's now in AA, and Keller now in AAA, are going to fill in within the next 2 years, are going to be in your rotation. The thing is, can Neil Huntington find a bullpen? Yes. His problem of the past 2 years was he couldn't find the guys like a Jason Greeley who were out there on the free agent market. He found Ricardo Rodriguez, who's done a very good job. And actually, here's the one thing I will say. Your player that is most overachieved this year on the Pirates, you could say Dickerson. I'm going to give him number 2. But I'm going to say Kyle Crick. The guy was washed up. The Giants organization didn't want him. That's a known fact. And the Giants wanted to dump him, and he was your best guy probably going to the All-Star game. I know we were making that joke, who deserves it, and I said Kyle Crick to give you the 7th inning. So did they need to get pitching? I say yes. Was this the time? I don't know. But I also saw this, and I've been reading some of the Pirate, writers and guys that follow them every day. They're doing this to appease the fans. So they're trying to do it. I know, Rich, you put up the graphic on the Twitter site, but they're down thousands of fans. So what do you try to do? You try to get them in. You try to get them excited. I mean, especially here with Chris Archer. Now the fans are coming back. Their best-selling tickets was, I believe, it was a Saturday last week or 2 weeks ago.
It was sold out against the Mets. It was this past Saturday, I think.
Saturday. That's what it was. So that you're trying to sell seats. So you're trying to do that. But, and I mentioned to you, Rich, Matt, you weren't on just yet. What if this team tanks? What if they blow it? Let's say Milwaukee gets that spot and let's say Arizona gets those 2 wild card spots, which is a good chance those 2 teams get it. Do the Pirates sell out in the winter and give up everything? Is Cervelli gone? Harrison gone? Mercer, I think, is going to be definitely gone. I keep saying that. I definitely believe Mercer's going to be gone here I mean, there's too many young infielders. I mean, between Kramer, Newman, Eric Wood, Stephen Almaeus, Charlie Hayes' kid, Key Bryant. I mean, Cole Tucker. You got 6 guys that could step into that spot, I mean, right now. So, I mean, the future, I don't know what it holds. I think the Pirates are trying to go all in here. I just think it's crazy. And by the way, they're beating the Cubs right now as we speak, 5-4. So, I mean, are they making the right deal? And that's what also helps. The Cubs are in town, and then the weekend you get the Cards. So you got 2 fan bases that are going to come here because they can't get tickets in their own ballpark, but they know come to Pittsburgh because you could go to StubHub and get a ticket for $20. So I don't know. So Neil Huntington's always rubbed me the wrong way. I know I just looked up his 5 greatest trades, and they were getting old pitchers. You know, A.J. Burnett's one, J. Happ's one, the Nate McLeod trade where he got Morton and then let him go, you know, because he can get 10 wins in 2018 already. But, I mean, it does help. So, I mean, I see it both ways. Appease the fans now, try to get money now. But if the fans don't show up, I bet $5 Huntington and Nutting will say, and Frank Coonley, you guys didn't come, so we have to sell the team because we can't afford it. $5 on that argument.
Well, that's my thing. I was looking at this. I understand McCutchen had to go. He was old, not getting the hits. He wasn't going to take a cut to stay with the Pirates. Some players do that. They try to rework to retire there. He said he wanted a deal. It wasn't going to work out for him. But they could have tried to sign Garrett Cole, who's way better than Archer right now. It's not even close if you look at their stats, just from an even ERA perspective, not even counting the wins and losses because the Rays are so bad. But you're looking at a guy where if you have an ace, the Pirates kind of have to buy. You can't just keep bringing in pitchers that could be on the tail end of their career. I mean, pitchers usually don't last that long in the league when they have their stuff. Look at how Strasburg, how he's been struggling when he was supposed to be the next Roger Clemens or whatever. So you have a guy, you could build around him, but you can't keep threatening to trade the entire team every couple years. If you do a fire sale again, where does that leave the fans? You're not going to sign any big free agent names. I mean, could you have seen if the Nats were looking to do Bryce Harper? Could you imagine if the Pirates had made a deal for Bryce Harper, Archer, and KK to bring in dudes? How that would have changed the whole city around? And would it have worked out for the Pirates? Hell no, that would never have worked out because they would have had to give too much away and Bryce Harper would have only been here through the end of the year. That's why no one jumped on that deal with the Nats, and the Nats had to come out and say, oh, just kidding, we weren't really trying to trade him. So there's no reason for the Pirates to make these hasty moves to try to appease the fans. Stick with what you're doing, but don't sell everyone out. You got to build a young core like the Astros did, and you can't do that if you're picking away at the team 1 or 2 young guys every year and getting rid of them. At some point, you got to identify what your team strength is and who you want to build around, and they just haven't done that. I can't think of a guy, I mean, outside of McCutchen, who was around McCutchen. Like, who did they build with him that was there for a bulk or a long bit of time that they could have had any chemistry? And it doesn't work because every couple years they're like, well, this guy's hot, let's trade him for prospects. And then it was like McCutchen by himself for how many years? And now whoever they pick, is it going to be, I don't even know, Harrison, whoever they decide not to trade, they're going to pick one guy and say, well, look, remember, he's our all-star, like they did with McCutchen, and not try to build. You kind of have to build around the team. It's like the NBA now where they're trading and getting 3 guys. They say you at least need 3 all-stars, like when LeBron did his super team and the Celtics did their super team. Who are the 3 guys for the Pirates? Because you don't have that. And in baseball, you should at least have a core group of guys that everyone can name in your city, and right now they don't have that. So, Matt, what are your thoughts? Do you have anything? What about the Cards? What'd they do? Or are they giving up this season?
Well, they really haven't done a whole lot, but when I looked at that Archer deal, I know a lot of people really wanted them to make the move, but kind of the way that I looked at it was almost like the management has set themselves up for failure, because either way, they can cry and complain about it at the end of the day, because they gave up a lot of potential. You're giving up 3 of your top players in the minors for a 29-year-old pitcher. You were just saying when you traded McCutchen how the farm system's in shambles, and we need to build the farm system. You can't build the farm system if you're giving away your top 3 to 5 guys every year for an aging veteran, just to be able to come out and say, well, we made a move. The fans wanted us to make a move, so we made a move. And if it pans out, great. And if it doesn't, then they can say, well, the fans said they want us to make a move, so we made a move. And almost giving themselves the alibi of saying, well, we tried. It was good enough, but see what happens now. Now we're going to gut the team. Was kind of the way that I looked at it. I really wasn't surprised that St. Louis didn't make a lot of moves. They did trade, I believe it was Piscotty away.
That was
today.
Before the season.
There was someone else that they...
Tommy Pham got traded.
That's who it was. It was another one of the guys that was contributing there. So I was a little bit surprised that they moved him, but we'll see if that plays out. It just seems like they kind of went the way of giving away prospects, and now they're not really developing a whole lot, or they don't have a lot coming up that is coming back to bite them now.
Yeah, I was more shocked that the Pirates were the leader all day. Like you said from the Archer deal, Matt, it just seems like they kind of forced it. They weren't up against, it wasn't like a 2-team or 3-team race like it should have been if he was in high demand. Because I saw someone joked, it was like, look how the Pirates outbid the Yankees and someone else, the Dodgers or someone that was looking for a starting pitcher. And then I was like, oh wait, they didn't. Because they got a guy that's aging and isn't putting up the numbers, and they're just trying to build with the fan base. And I can kind of make a connection to what you said, Matt, about trying to appease the fans and say, look, we tried. I liken it to what the Redskins did all those years. They brought in Clinton Portis. They signed like all these guys. Look, we got Santana Moss. We're going to be great this year. Hey, look who we're bringing in. They were always making a big free agent splash. And then when it didn't work out, they were kind of like, oh, you know what? 3-5-5 receivers just doesn't work out in this league. Oh, well, guys, sorry we spent all that money. And, I mean, what happens? That you're kind of in that cycle. But it kind of gives you an out where, can you hate the owner? Yeah. But can he also say, hey, look, we tried. And that's kind of where I think it's very similar now, where everyone hates the Redskins owner that's a Redskins fan, and now people are coming down on the Pirates with Bob Nutting. They're trying to... Someone was flying a flag. I don't know if that actually went up or not. Hey, Bob, sell the team or something generic like that over the stadium. And it's just sad that the Pirates are the talk of the trade deadline for once in... You know how long it's been? Was it 2013? So 5 years ago? I did a little bit of recon, and the reason they were the talk of that trade deadline is because they were in first place. They had the best record in the majors. So that's how far they've fallen. 5 years ago, they had the best record in the majors, talk of the trade deadline. This year, talk of the trade deadline because they're the only team that bids on a possibly has-been starting pitcher. So that's my final thoughts on it. If you guys want to spin it, elaborate anything else, feel free.
I mean, I feel bad for the Pirates. They had 2 good prospects. I tried looking at the MLB pipeline while you guys were talking. They already knocked off Hearn and Meadows, who are 2 guys who went in the trades. I mean, Hearn, I think, was 9. I think Meadows was 2 or 3, depending upon the site you were looking. I mean, so you lost 2 out of your top 10 again. You know, we keep hearing that every time there's a trade deadline. They lose 2 of their top 10. Now, I mean, there's still 2 players to be named later, which will probably be guys out of the top 30, hopefully. But, I mean, I don't know. I mean, you look at teams like the Orioles. Orioles sold out at this deadline, and they They were one of the worst minor leagues in prospect wise. They are now jumped, I would say, to the middle of the pack with all their trades of getting rid of old dead bodies and trying to get some youth in there. And I think that was one key that they did. Braves got rid of a bunch of minor leaguers too for Adam Duvall, who it's a 210. So congrats to you there. You must need an old outfielder that was an all-star years ago. I mean, I expect that trade from the Pirates. But, I mean, we'll wait and see what some of these do. I don't know. It's kind of weird that the Pirates and the Dodgers, two different ends of the spectrum, probably won the trade deadline. I mean, Brian Dozier's now a Dodger, so they get a big hitter, and they got Machado last week. So, I mean, they got two big hitters in their infield. And that's who if the Pirates think they're a playoff team, well, you got to go face the Dodgers. Congratulations. Good luck to you trying to beat that team that out-hits you and out-pitches you. So I mean, we'll wait and see there. So
well, that's a good segue, Rick, because I was thinking, remember when the Dodgers a couple years ago, they were kind of trying to build this team, and everyone was so high on Puig. Now they've just added around him. If that was the Pirates, they would have been using him as trade bait for the past 3 years, and they wouldn't have been adding anyone else. They would have just been trading anyone else that was performing and tried to use him to sell tickets. Like, what a difference. Like, just an approach. Just take a team, you have a guy, you have a star that people are tuning in to see, use that as leverage and build around him. Pirates had it with McCutchen, didn't build around him. So now what's going to happen? Can a ragtag team make the playoffs? Stay tuned. We'll find out. But let's go ahead and move on to the NFL training camps underway. Nothing really too big. I can't stand the one thing. I put this on here because basically I think you sent it to me, Matt. I can't stand the fake advertisements at these stupid training camps because my Twitter is blowing up. It's like, hey, look and see, what car did so-and-so drive? Someone asked me, they had the nerve to ask me, hey, did you see what Antonio Brown drove to training camp? And I was like, what the hell would I care? What he drove to training camp? Well, what are you talking about? How would you even know that? Because it's these fake advertisements. The one that Matt sent me was Cam Newton inexplicably has a tailgate box from Bojangles just handed to him, and then he walks down and sits on the field and fake eats it. He doesn't even take a bite because now I don't even know. I'm more confused. Does he like Bojangles? Why would he not take a bite of Bojangles? I mean, I'm sure he's hungry. He's at training camp all goddamn day. Is it maybe because it's too spicy? I don't know.
Maybe he's afraid of getting the shits.
Yeah, more questions because he said, oh, hey, give this box back. Why do you even have it in the first place? Because it's an ad. Like, okay, you're doing an ad for Bojangles. Great, Cam. Great. I want to see you eat it. I want to see you eat it because I want to know that you eat there. Now I don't think you do. Now I just think you're a shill anytime I see that you're talking about eating at Bojangles. And I love Bojangles. That's why I don't know how you could pass it up. If anyone gave me a box, you would be losing at least one bite of chicken, one piece of chicken. If it's a Supreme, if it's one of their legs. Rick, you have no idea what I'm talking about, probably.
I don't eat chicken anymore. It's a scared animal. I don't eat it.
We're saving that till the end of the show.
Cows are a scared animal. They just stand there. I eat bears, too.
They stand there and take their killing.
Could you imagine if Cam Newton had said that? It wouldn't even have been news.
No.
Wouldn't even have been news.
Because guess what? With Cam, you see he's doing those yogurt commercials, so you know he's not eating all that fast food.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, all the guy does, get your money, man. Go for it. But come on. NFL, like, they're just turning into shills, and then they're like, hey, why isn't anyone engaging with us on social media? At least when the NBA players are doing whatever they're doing and everyone says, hey, follow NBA guys. They're funny on Twitter or Instagram, whatever. Hey, be funny. Don't give me these weird ads that I don't want to see. Like, and I still don't understand the point of that. Matt, what do you think? Why did he do that? He didn't even bite the chicken.
I have no idea.
It's crazy. It would be like a player being like, hey, drink Mountain Dew. And then he puts the Mountain Dew down and goes to the Gatorade thing. I'd be like, you're going to drink that Dew? Or are you going to do the Dew or not? Because now I'm intrigued. And you spent all this time doing this ad, but I don't see you eating there, bro. And I know you don't eat there during the season. It's like the crazy thing. Someone wrote up, I forget. It was like some rookie wrote up this big ad that I saw on Instagram about how he drove to Chick-fil-A, but they're closed on Sundays. So don't forget that Chick-fil-A is closed on Sundays. I was like, I know you didn't sit there and write that out. It was like a 200-word, one of those notes. You know how everyone takes pictures of notes or whatever and puts it on Instagram or Twitter? I saw it there, and I was like, I know you just didn't sit there and write that down with perfect grammar. It wasn't hammered out like someone texted. It was like full-on sentences with punctuation and everything. So don't give me that bullshit that you spent all this time today driving to Chick-fil-A because you love it, and it's savory, and all these great tastes and filling, and all this other stuff. But, they're closed on Sunday. So guess it's back to training camp, or whatever. Oh, this makes me so mad.
Guess what? You're not an American if you've never driven to Chick-fil-A on Sunday and been disappointed that they were closed.
Or
I'll say it. I'll say it right to your face.
Well, I know they're closed because I every time I would think, hey, I should go to Chick-fil-A. And then I was like, oh, remember when they put that in the Atlanta Falcons Stadium for no reason because they can't even be open during games? That's what I think. One Thursday game a week or a year, whatever it is. Rick,
don't eat chicken.
Rick, what do you think?
I don't eat chicken.
Have you seen the ads? Have you seen the ads?
I'm like you. I live by Hardball. Yeah, I've seen them. They're ridiculous. I love by Hardball. My name's Richie. I don't eat chicken anymore. My head is going all over. But come on, it's just ridiculous. It shows you how much they care about money and how much they just don't care anymore. And it almost makes me care about NFL football because that all it sees is an advertisement now. Everything's like an advertisement. It's not about the game or, you know what, Ben just threw an 85-yard bomb, in triple coverage no. I mean, training camps are so watered down anymore. They almost have to do something to not water it down because some days they're not in pads. They don't do this during practice. They don't do that. We can't play hard. It's too hot out. We got to go indoors. We're going to go lift. It's like it's so watered down training camp, and the preseason games are something that we should do to use as interrogation methods when we need information from criminals that'll lead to other criminal activities. It's like that. It's just ridiculous because it's just boring, and they got to do something. Antonio Brown arrives in a helicopter. Vince Williams thinks he's stone cold. The Cleveland Browns take the field. Holy crap! I'm ready to. I'm excited for NFL football at its finest. It's the greatest thing ever. Whoop whoop! Preseason boring. I mean, is anybody excited for preseason football? Oh yeah, it has me on this edge of my seat when I see the third string kicker and the running back in the third quarter who's going to go back to his high school to coach. Matt, you should be actually watching these games. You may find some coaches, maybe some scouts too. I recommend it. But I mean, it's just a shell. It's something trying to entice you to buy stuff because preseason is the most boringest thing I've ever seen in my life. It's even worse than preseason baseball. It's worse than spring training.
Well, I'll say this. Baseball doesn't shove it down your throat. I don't remember seeing what Mark McGwire or Barry Bonds were driving out into the thing. Even now, you see the players do some silly things like, oh, hey, we're doing that bunt game that everyone plays, or we're smacking the ball with our mitts. We're not fake having all these advertisement things like, ooh, look at me drive a Lexus in. Yeah, buy Lexus. Sweet. And then it's like, here's a picture of me doing it. It's just overload. I don't care. I don't care. And you can say what you want about President Trump. I know some people hate him or whatever. But the dude with his fake news campaign has kind of brought he's called out this kind of shit. And I think that's why you're seeing the TV ratings and the way media covers this stuff. It's ridiculous. It's are they getting a cut of the money? I don't know. Mm-hmm. But it makes me not want to watch any football. Like you're right, Rick. I just want to watch the game. I don't want to be force-fed ads. I'm so tired of ads. You go on social media. Okay, so for an experiment, because I was bringing this in, and it was annoying me. I'm going to start doing annoyances or problems or something as we get ready to launch our updated website for football season. I was thinking about putting them on the website and having people vote to see if they're a problem or not, or an annoyance. But I haven't figured out what I'm going to do with that. But I was doing some research on this one. I go on the Southbound Sports Instagram. 7 out of the 10 first posts were ads. 7 of them. 7 posts on Instagram that I had to scroll through were ads for stupid shit. What would make me want to check Instagram? There's no reason. Like, why would I check that? Am I going to see pictures of training camp? Or do I want to see pictures of, hey, here we are, Steelers, ours is sponsored by so-and-so. Cool beans, bro. How about you fill me in on the backup quarterback situation? I don't care who's sponsoring your camp. So I'm just tired of all the ads. And one of the other things that come out of this is totally unrelated, kind of. But MGM, first gambling contract for a professional league, signed the NBA. It was like $25 million a year for 3 years. They're going to pay to be the official gambling partner of the NBA. What a bunch of hypocrites. Because they were the ones petitioning in New York or DC or wherever the hell they had that vote to stop professional sports gambling. If you remember, the NFL sat that one out. The NBA was trying to get all the leagues together, saying how it was going to ruin professional sports. And who's the first one to bend over and take that money? NBA. So, kind of ties in, kind of not, but that's my NFL thing. I just can't. You want me to get excited for some football? Yes. But don't do it this way. Stop doing it. I remember when we would go out to St. Vincent's in Latrobe to watch the Steelers training camp, and it was for the fans. Hines Ward would come out, spend time with the fans, take some photos, sign some autographs. Was he walking around with a ton of advertisements on him? No. Was he doing like skits? No. They never did anything like that. It was all business. You go, you meet the players, watch them play some football, buy some merch, and go home. That's it. Bring it back. Make football fun again. That's all I want. That's all I want. So, anything else you guys want to add on the NFL? I kind of took it over.
I will say the one thing that I saw interesting from camp was that the Cleveland Browns players had Baker Mayfield buy an RV to keep in the parking lot. So in between practices, they had like the quarterback RV. That was an interesting little rookie hazing thing for him to do.
And I'll be honest, Matt, the hazing things don't bother me as much because they're kind of like fun-hearted stuff. I know those kind of got a bad rap. When was that? 2 years ago or 3 years ago when Richie Incognito were like, hey, his hazing's too mean or whatever. I don't even remember what he did now. It's all in the annals of time, the past. But I would rather have that. Show me 30 minutes of dudes getting pies in the face, beat up, wedgies, whatever, instead of like, oh, could you imagine if Baker Mayfield drove out in a Polaris or whoever makes RVs or whatever, ATVs, whatever he said he bought, and he just had like a big sponsorship and it was just him doing that. Maybe it was that. I don't know. But I would be so disappointed.
But I think it was Drew Stanton's is one of like the third string quarterback there, and said when they were in Detroit, they had Stafford do that. So he kind of took that idea with him from Detroit and brought that over and said, yeah, this is a good thing to have for the players. So I give a tip of the cap for that. I approve.
Yeah, that's what I would say. I want to see more stuff like that. And to be honest, I didn't even see that. Because instead, I'm getting Bojangles commercials and whatever else they decide to show me down here. But Brown stuff, Browns are awful. Why would they show me that? But whatever. You guys want to get into college football talk? It's going to be.
I just want to make a couple points here, Richie.
Go ahead,
I just did my Twitter. 2 out of my first 12 things are advertisements, so that shows you how much of a joke Twitter has now become.
That's not as bad as Instagram, though, for our Southbound Sports.
Yeah. And I mean, it's just whatever. And one Southwest Airlines, the other one is something called Belk. Don't even know what that is. But I mean, here's one thing I will make a point of. I'm actually against hazing and all that stuff because it's just a joke. I think if that's what you need to do to rookie haze somebody, then you don't deserve your damn spot. I mean, really? I don't like it. And I mean, and I'll use something Matt's favorite of. Your Cardinals, that's what cost Mike Matheny his job. They're going to say the record, but I mean, it was his record. It was the lack of control he had on his team with his coaches and lack of players. I mean, the story that didn't get reported as much was Bud Norris was pretty much hazing Jordan Hicks. Some of the players got word of it. Some of the players didn't like what Bud Norris was doing, confronted him about it. He still did it because Mike Matheny's like, I don't care, that happened to me. And that's like the 1980s attitude, 90s attitude. Like, I don't care, that's how we played. And guess what? Mike Matheny's now jobless and will be jobless and probably will not get another head coaching job. I'm going to be honest. Major League Baseball polices itself in a different way. I remember you can look it up through the different years too. You remember always it usually was a September trip when all the rookies come up in September. They used to have to do Halloween stuff. The actual MLB plus the Players Union confronted it and said you can't do hazing. And this was their shot. The players have the shot now of getting back at the coaches and the front offices, and they got Mike Matheny fired for this. So I bet Mike Matheny will be a coach one day, probably in the bench coach, maybe a AAA coach, but he's not getting a head coaching job because of one idiot on his team. And I will say idiot because Bud Norris is not a nice guy in real life. He is not. He used to be, but he's not anymore. And that cost him his job. So Mike Matheny deserves it, and I think hazing is just stupid. What does it accomplish? That's the question I have for you guys. What does it accomplish? They get an RV to wait in? Great. You want to see the facilities they're putting in? I mean, Under Armour built a facility for the Ravens. Built one for them. I mean, St. Vincent's immaculate because of what the Steelers have done. The Browns, I don't know what they have, but they got to have better than high school and colleges out there. I mean, I know I'm trash talking the Browns every 10 seconds, but I mean, it is what it is. But I mean, I think hazing has no sport. And then here's what happens: kids do it, and then it ends up being other things. I mean, so it is what it is. So, but whatever. I mean, there's a kid in our area that was a running back. He was hazing people. It was in a county below us, Matt. He was a running back. They found hazing with him, cut off the team, and he never played again. And he was their best player on the team. They cut him because they said they can't deal with it.
Well,
and I mean, these are little schools.
I guess I can see that.
I'm not going to say what his hazing incident is, but it had to do with a drink. It had to do with a drink. And let me tell you, it's not the Diet AMW root beer. Diet AMW root beer. Please buy me as a small. It wasn't that. It wasn't that. It may have been a bodily fluid, but that's what he drank. They cut him right off the team right after that.
Well, no shit, if you're doing weird things. These are fun NFL pranks. And I understand, yeah, some kids in high school are idiots. Their brains aren't fully developed. That's true. And they see, these guys are hazing. What weird shit can we do to our teammates? And then they do it, and it's inappropriate. Yeah. But I'm saying more so, Rick, just for the fun, for the laughs. Like, if my gram would go on and see something the Steelers did, do you think she'd rather see a Bojangles ad, or would she see someone doing an RV prank?
I'd rather have the Bojangles ad because I can turn it off.
That's a lie. Matt, what about you?
I would.
Well, I like the RV. I'm staying true to my word. I didn't mind the RV thing, and here's where I think you draw the line. No one told Baker Mayfield he was not strong-armed into it. He had the option of saying no in that situation. He's a professional athlete making millions of dollars, and it was probably a drop in the bucket from his signing bonus to purchase that RV that he can use even after he's run out of the NFL. He could live in that RV someday. So it was a worthwhile investment. To me, when it comes to those guys, especially the high draft picks, to do something like that more than likely a lot of those guys are blowing money on frivolous things anyhow. I don't see the harm in that, especially being that they're younger players in the league, and if it's something silly like that helps build some camaraderie, especially within the quarterback room, within the offensive positions, then it pays dividends in that aspect. When you take it to a level that the Richie Incognitos went to, and it's not we're joking around and you're in on the joke and it's I'm just bullying you because I'm a prick, that's where it draws the line. And no, I don't think that it's okay for high school kids to be doing it, but when you're getting paid millions upon millions of dollars, there's a little bit more wiggle room with that. Plus, they have the union protection that if it really is an issue, they can follow the procedures and file grievances that way.
Yeah, I don't know. Kind of got both sides of it here. But we'll see what happens because preseason's going to keep going. So what's going to happen on the old games this weekend? We'll find out. We'll be back next week. I'll see if those things are still prevalent or if it was kind of like a 1 week thing. But I'm sure they'll keep throwing little jabs my way. But it's one thing to keep an eye on players, and then it's another to be overwhelmed by them. But I'm going to circle back, do a little bit of college football talk before we wrap it up because I put it off. So Matt talked about Bryce Love at the top of the show. His connection went in and out a bit. So just to recap, Bryce Love didn't show up for media days. And the media was kind of dropping him out of the Heisman consideration. And I had just from the Big Ten, basically listeners, so new-time listeners, I kind of cover the Big Ten here on the show. Matt's more of an ACC guy. Rick's a Penn State guy, so me and him usually do the Big Ten. So I watch the Big Ten media days. And, of course, what is the one thing that gets blown up? Jim Harbaugh and his chicken comment, which he made, I think it was even after the media days. I think it hit this weekend. I think media days were well over. First off, some people were kind of talking about his player selection when he only brought seniors. So it was sort of like they were picking on him. On the other hand, Urban Meyer had a wide receiver coach that was with him. And Matt, did we talk about this last week?
It was off. It was off air at the end of the show.
We hit it after the air because I don't think all the details came out. But they had a wide receiver coach. What was his name? Was it Zach Smith?
It was the old coach, Bruce Pearl's son.
Earl Bruce's son, grandson.
Yeah.
So, wide receiver coach for the Buckeyes. He's been with Urban Meyer since Florida. Okay? And I think the reason why we had it, we were going to mention it last week, but we didn't have all the details. So, there was an incident when they were down in Florida where it was alleged that he had beat his girlfriend or wife at the time. I think now ex. I could be wrong. And nothing happened. Then it happened again, and I think the first time it was when he was at Ohio State. And the questions came to Urban Meyer about it, and he said something, it was really off-putting. It was something like, but not all the allegations, like, you got to hear the other side of the story or something. So it was poised to him that he had an assistant that was beating his wife or girlfriend, because I'm not sure how the timeline runs, and he blew it off. Well, this is now, and there were charges, so this is like the third or fourth time this dude has issues again, gets arrested, and finally, Urban Meyer kicks him off before media days. Media days start, the first question about it, and Urban Meyer says, I don't want to talk about it, or whatever he says, and he said, that's it. And only 2 or 3 of the media outlets picked it up, and then it was away. But what did they zero in on? Jim Harbaugh telling the quarterback not to eat chicken because it's a nervous bird, and he doesn't want his quarterbacks to be nervous. Which could have been a joke. We don't know. It sounds funny. I think it's hilarious. They are nervous birds. I've asked you guys on the show, and you wouldn't comment on the record if you think chickens are nervous birds. But how many fairy tales are written about foxes in the hen house eating all the chickens? I mean, that's there for good reason, Matt. So he makes a great point. Nervous birds. Do you want your quarterbacks to be nervous as head coach?
Well, they're not going to be nervous because I'm their coach.
Because
so
you
they'll
don't
be
eat
fine.
chicken. Because you don't eat chicken. You can just say it.
No, clearly, I'm eating chicken. I'm eating all kinds of food.
Well, I'm just looking at this, and I joke now, but I bring it up because the media is picking out what stories they want to hit. And I had speculated a year or two ago that Urban Meyer took time off at Florida to be a part of the media so that he could become friends with a lot of the sports media guys, and now he doesn't get any of the criticism. And it's pretty blatant. If you watch it, any criticism Urban Meyer does not get. None of the guys at ESPN where he worked will even come close to criticizing him because they're friends. Why would you hurt your friends? Look what happened when all these other allegations come out about, what was the other guy in Hollywood? Harvey Weinstein. How come there weren't any mails that came out really against him? Because he was friends with those guys and they most likely knew what was going on. So here you have Urban Meyer. It was Zach Smith. And that's pretty much it. It gets in and they just change it. And now the whole thing is about them hiring Brian Hartline. So they just helped him guide the narrative away from the domestic abuse. And what happened? Urban Meyer gets picked up by Bob Evans. He's their breakfast spokesman now. Beating wives, beating eggs, who cares? He's our guy. You like both those things? Come to Bob Evans. Urban Meyer, he's our spokesperson. It's outrageous. The one guy can get that, but some other guys get the heat for the stupidest reasons. Don't come to media days, Bryce Love. Kiss your Heisman goodbye. Nervous bird joke, which is probably a joke. It's funny as hell. Nervous bird joke, headlines. Big Chicken's going to be after him, Harbaugh, because that's taking down their industry. Can't have a high-profile coach talking about not eating chicken. What's those Chick-fil-A ads? Eat more chicken. Now they found their enemy, their nemesis, Jim Harbaugh. So that's all I have. I have nothing else. You guys can elaborate, make fun of the bird thing. Go ahead. Now's your time.
Actually, I want to make fun of even something better. Our boys down in Gainesville. What in the hell is going on down there? When you think that it can't get worse, it just keeps getting worse. They're chasing down a gambler, a bookie with frying pans and airsoft guns. Their recruiting class is absolutely horrid. They got they're inviting all these top recruits to their Friday night lights, which is appropriate because their talent level right now is about a high school level. Their recruiting class that at one point they were cleaning house in state, they're now behind in rankings to Pitt,
to Duke,
to Duke, to Boston motherfucking College, to Baylor, who is coming off their own issues. You just hired Dan Mullen, who's supposed to be your savior, who's supposed to be a top 10 coach in all of college football.
Well, hold on, because it seems like we're both bashing rivals here. But I have to make a point, because now I'm going to start speculating. Dan Mullen, he recruited better at Mississippi State. So this might be a point in Florida's favor. Maybe Florida's more of a clean program, recruiting-wise. Because how could one coach, a successful coach, be decent at recruiting, getting guys? He had Dak Prescott, right? Dak Prescott. Yep. You have guys like that, so you're bringing in top talent. Maybe the boosters were helping that recruiting a little bit, Matt? One might say, because if you remember when the Ole Miss thing went down, they had said, well, hey, look at our buddies over here at Mississippi State. And the SEC was kind of like, we only hit one program at a time from our bottom feeders. So only one team can be on sanctions. It's a conference rule at any time. So they kind of shrugged their shoulders, but it's looking very damning that you can recruit at Mississippi State but not at Florida. Florida recruits itself. There's no way.
It used to.
Duke.
But I mean,
David Cutcliffe has said on the record he doesn't look for other jobs because he doesn't have to try hard at Duke. How the hell is he out recruiting Florida? Those were like direct quotes, because if you remember, they were talking about trying to bring him in at like Tennessee or wherever else, and he's like, nah, Duke's easy, I don't have to do anything. And he's out recruiting you. Dan Mullen.
Yes.
Good God.
Yes. Even Temple has a higher class. The third best team in the state. Temple has a better class than Florida. There's no, I mean, from what the allure is with the Florida high school systems, that should not be the case. Just by picking the scabs off the talent down in Florida, they should have a much higher class.
I don't even know. I was wondering if you were going to bring this in. If not, I was going to try to gather more materials and bring it in next week, because the frying pan thing is ridiculous.
I try like, because I hate the Gators more than anyone else in the world. I like ISIS more than I like the Gators.
Well, I will say this. The reason behind it, so people that don't know, because we're riffing, the story was that a bookie saw some Gators players, I think randomly, I don't think they knew the guy, and he started making fun of them because they lost him money. He was like, you guys are supposed to be ballers, all this stuff. You guys suck ass, lost me all this money. And so the players are like, screw that. They went and got some frying pans and chased a man down. So he was making fun of them off the cuff because he was losing money. And this is
he
what...
He was like helping giving him discounts on like rent-a-cars and stuff. It's so much worse.
I didn't even see that part, but it's just so dumb. And that credit card scam that they had going, that goes all the way back. That's like, I had some research. I don't even know if I brought that in or not. I can't remember. But that was going back all the way back to the old 1990s basketball scams, where Florida did that. Was that last year? Because everyone wrote off the Michigan win early in the season when they beat Florida. And don't worry, Florida has never beaten Michigan, Matt. I think I sent you that. Just so you know, we're doing our part keeping their program down in the dumps. Apparently it's not a big accomplishment whenever you have 6-7 guys suspended. What was it? Was it the head ball coach? He said he liked playing Georgia early because you could always count on them having a few players suspended. How times have changed. That's turned into the Gators now. It's unbelievable. But did you see my man Spurrier, he's going back. They're celebrating their 25, was it 25 years? Their anniversary of their SEC championship, the first one in 1993 or whenever that was. First 11-win season. So you would think that they would be able to have a good crowd on hand, a good recruiting class, but it's looking like a shit show down there.
Jorts for everyone.
I bet Spurrier steps back in as like an athletic director or something if he's not already.
No way. He's in that NFL developmental league.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
He was trying to bring Jesus back to resurrect his team.
Well, yeah, didn't they not televise that? That was like the dumbest thing ever. Hey, let's sign a bunch of high-profile coaches and a bunch of guys that really want to watch football, but we're not going to show it. It's only for scouts. So bullshit, but they'll show me weird training camp clips. Cool beans, guys. Yeah, it definitely gets me excited for some football. God damn, that's it for me. I went off the rails too much. You guys have anything else to add for the final bell?
The one thing I did... All right. For as much as we've hated on him for his play, I got to give a little bit of props to LeBron opening the I Promise school in Akron, where kids that are going to his school, they're getting free tuition, free uniforms, free transportation. They're getting breakfast, lunch, and snacks. He's paying for them to go to the University of Akron if they complete and graduate through his school. So I definitely think he's doing his part to try to help the communities, and he's helping get the parents through school and helping them with job placement. So I really think that's a pretty big deal. I'm curious to see. It's starting off right now to help some of these underprivileged kids. I'm wondering as time goes on, does that evolve into a program that then just becomes almost like some of the private schools that I've railed against in the past, for recruiting and turning things that are supposed to help students out into becoming an athletic pool.
Well, I'll say I have seen it's been getting a lot of good buzz, and I'll go the opposite. I'll say that I'm kind of skeptical. I hope that whatever he's saying is true, but I don't know if it is. And he's not even the first one to do it. Jalen Rose has had a charter school for how many years now? Have you ever heard about it? No, because he's not LeBron James. So is this all a PR thing? I looked it up in 2011, Jalen Rose Leadership Academy, where I want to say it was something similar, where he took kids from Detroit, underprivileged kids, is tuition free, and his goal is to have 100% of his students graduate and enroll in college. So, I mean, he had it like tiered up, so he was building. And to my knowledge, it's been a success. And it's had a lot of other people do it. But now, why? Why focus on the LeBron one? No one else has said in any of the articles I read today has said that LeBron isn't the first. They're all claiming that he's the first one to do it. He's not. So I understand, give him props. Great. And I hope it's just not a PR thing. I mean, do some research. I mean, shit, maybe Jalen Rose isn't even the first one to do it. But come on. I mean, LeBron's not the first. So I understand everyone loves LeBron now. He's going to LA. Let's give him all this limelight. I really hope that he follows through. And we'll see. We'll see in a couple years how that shakes out for him. So, good story. And I hope it's more than that. Because all too many times, a lot of these charter schools, they fail. So, tuition free and all this stuff sounds great. Getting into Toledo. How can you get into a college like that? Because eventually what will happen is a college, if they're taking students that don't get high scores on like the ACT or whatever test that they give them, that will drop them in the U.S. News and World Report rankings. And that's more important to schools. They'll put that above any PR piece. I guarantee it. Because it's a business thing, these universities. It's all kind of a scam. So that's my thoughts on that. So I took the opposite angle, Matt. I don't know. Anything else you guys want to add on that? Rick, you have any thoughts?
I'll go with Matt's point. I already said it. Do schools recruit? Yeah, heck yeah. Come on, let's be honest. Let's not lie today, folks. Secondly,
well, does his school have athletics?
I think so. I think that's what I read.
I didn't see if they did or not, but I know for as much the emphasis that they put on the academics, that it kind of seemed like the athletics wasn't even in the picture.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll have to do some more reading on it.
Yeah, I looked up the Jalen Rose Leadership Academy. They had a deal with University of Detroit Mercy, kind of similar to what LeBron had with University of Toledo, to help people get into college. I would say, I don't know, just going by U.S. News rankings, I would think Toledo's more of a prestigious university. So if they can keep that deal up, cool. And I don't know, maybe that's not. I would assume that Jalen Rose's academy's still up.
It is. I saw an interview with him recently, and he was in the gym.
So I understand, yeah, you're getting a bunch of good buzz for LeBron, but is this just him trying to appease fans of Cleveland? Like, hey,
he sold out on him twice.
Yeah, look, I sold you guys out again, but look, I'm gonna do a school, and I'm gonna do a huge PR campaign, and pretend like I'm the first one to ever do it. It's kind of just more like grandstanding, patting yourself on the back, because I'm sure he gets a huge tax write-off for it. So cynical I may be, I'm not sold. So, we'll see. Anything else, Rick? You got anything for the final bell?
History was made today in actual MLB baseball. There was a Nationals beat the Mets 25-4. Remember, Pirates struggled against the Mets over the weekend. 25-4. First time a team has scored 25 runs since 2007. 2007. So kudos to them. David Murphy had a huge day. I think he had 7 RBIs or something insane like that. So kudos to him. And Mrs. Rick and I are on a Major League World Tour of going to every Major League park. Went to our third one, Camden Yards in Baltimore. It's a nice stadium. Recommend people make the trip out there. Just make sure you get a cab outside the ballpark. Kind of shady. Lot of shadiness. I recommend the cab or an Uber or a Lyft. Download the apps. Uber, download the app. Uber. I tried to get money.
Wait, Rick, you're talking about Baltimore, right?
Baltimore, yeah.
The place of The Wire that The Wire's based on? And you're surprised you have to get an Uber because it's kind of shady?
Yeah. Well, you can, yeah.
I have a little off-topic story. I went to a concert there, and a dude got ran over in the parking lot and died. So
see, that's why you need an Uber. You won't have these problems. Uber, come on. Uber, let's go. Diet AMW root beer. Buy me. I am worth buying. I will sell my soul for money. I bet it in a pool game and lost it once. True story. Bet it in a game of billiards, lost it in a pool game. But I did win my house off my dad in a pool game. So true stories of my family.
Wait, you bought your...
My dad bet his house, and I won it in a pool game. I bet my soul in a pool game and lost.
So you don't have your soul, but you have a deed to a house?
I eventually got it back in a trade.
For the house?
So the soul. The house I still got.
What'd you trade the soul for? What was it worth?
I think I traded it for something. Was it a Brooks Robinson autographed baseball? I can't remember. I want to say it was Brooks Robinson autographed baseball, if I remember correctly. I think so. It was a good trade. Good trade.
There's nothing I can add. I'm ending it. Thanks for listening to the Southbound Sports Show. Come back next week. Preseason football will be started, so we won't hear any of these weird soul-selling stories. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Southbound Sports, or Twitter, S-Bound Sports. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.